good, YouTube? Slendy Revolution X here, coming to you guys today with another edition of Slendy Talks. And today what I wanted to be talking about was reprints, and essentially the division between casual players and competitive players. Now, what kind of brought me to this discussion video was the fact that my buddy is contemplating quitting because it's not a money-making game. He wasn't necessarily a vendor, but there was a way where, you know, he would buy cards in bulk off of people and sell them for their actual value to make a little profit for himself. It wasn't like he was a shop or anything like that. It was just like a way for him to build his collection, as a lot of players do. So we were talking on Facebook, and basically our discussion went to the idea that he doesn't like how often things are getting reprinted. Cards don't hold their value anymore. Those things kind of coincide, but it's not always like along those lines. You know, it goes along the lines of reprints for one, power creep another thing, where a deck, you know, like last year where Shadal's was like, at the beginning of the year, Shadal's was a really competitive deck and really great, and now it's very rarely seen in any kind of competitive play because it's very hard to keep up. I don't think that's necessarily because of power creep, but people choose to not play it. I still think it's a decent deck, but for whatever reason, people are playing it. It's not as good. It doesn't hold up as well against the meta. Therefore, card value falls. And that's not just the only deck that we've seen that happen in. You know, we look at things that Draker Sack, which was like a $150 card, which is running around $10 now. And that, I understand that's a 2-year thing, but the depreciation rate in that is insane. That's like worse than like buying a car and driving off the lot and hitting it into a telephone pole, you know? So it's very hard for competitive players who look at it as a rarity value and, you know, potentially make money off of it, things like that. You know, it's who are very passionate about what they do. Not saying that casual players aren't, but it's a different level, you know? For you to be a competitive player, you need to be more passionate. And I'm not like dissing any casual players. I'm a casual player myself. I don't think I'd rather play a fun deck than a competitive deck. I'd rather go to an event with something original rather than a cookie cutter version offline, which, you know, I was like, just like, oh, look, Patrick Corbin won with this, therefore I'm going to win with this. No. I'm going to go with something original, something that I feel comfortable with, something that I know I'm going to have fun with. So, like I said, there's a difference between that. Now, I'm getting a little off topic. Let's get back to the idea of reprints. So he's a little upset, wants to quit because all of these things are getting reprinted, aka Level Chain. If you were one of those people that was hoarding cards because they're profitable, like if your binder is just like stacked full of like just infinite like all these crazy cards, like if you had like 60 Bryonics in there and Level Chains and everything, you just saw a huge hit in your profit margins because Level Chain went from being about an $80 card at its lowest to probably it'll sit right around 20. And then potentially lower, depending on how well it doesn't go in premium in Return of the Bling, and like how easily you can pull it out of premium bling, blah, 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 blah. How easily you can pull it out of Return of the Bling. So, which is a terrible name, by the way. Why would you? I don't know. Anyway, continue. So he's very upset at the fact that, you know, all of these cards are getting reprinted. And it's making him hard to stay interested in the game because that's what kind of made him tick as a player. Getting that, and it was like the rush of like getting all these cards for X amount of money, and then knowing that your profit has been made of buying these cards and having all these cards. It's kind of where he sat. Whereas me, I love reprints. I think reprints allow the game, the separation between competitive casual players, to diminish. So you're not going to have this big of a gap where, you know, guys can't even afford to play certain decks. Like, so back to Draker Sack, let's take a step back a couple years. If you wanted to play Mecha Phantom Beast, you had to drop $450 on 3 cards. If you were going to run 3 Draker Sacks, and I'm sure you're going to try to run a Big Eye, but like, so the deck, this probably $30 base core deck, that really wasn't even that competitive in itself when it came out, needed these cards because they were good in other decks, and you know, if you were the Mecha Phantom Beast player, it's a little depressing to go have to spend like upwards of 10 times the value of your core deck on a card that you need to even hope for that deck to be competitive. So now with Draker Sack at $10, right around 10 to 15, depending on which one you get, depending on first edition and condition, obviously. But now you're looking at a market where if you were a Mecha Fan and Beast player, it's not unreasonable to spend $30 on 3 cards to make that deck tick. So that's why I love reprints. I just think it's a great thing for the game, and eventually it needs to happen. And the Laval chain thing has just been crying to happen for years now. I mean, that card is essential in a lot of decks, and it's a great rank 4, and it has been insanely expensive, especially since the top of the Volcanics player, which caused that card to spike up. So I think that's what you need reprints for. I think you need reprints to make the game available to every player base, and for them to be able to succeed at their own level. You know, I would hate for a person to not be able to get a YCS top, or win a regional event, or go to Nats and do well because they couldn't afford it. It's a card game, and I understand that could offend some people, but realistically, that's how you have to look at it. If you want to be able to have fun in this game, and Konami looks at it as a business, so if they want more players to be able to play and stay with this game, they have to make the card pool available to everyone, not just the people who are willing to drop thousands of dollars, who are willing to drop hundreds of dollars on these cards to be able to play competitively. And I understand that there are those players out there, and I understand you can be upset because of reprints, but I don't think you should quit the game because of it, and I don't think it's a bad thing for the game. I think it's healthy because, okay, so your Laval chain was $100, now it's worth $20, fine, but that doesn't mean that there's not another card that's going to come out in the future set that isn't going to do that exact same thing. It's a way to keep the casual player base active, because if you didn't have reprints, I don't think that would happen. So that's just my discussion, guys. I know it's a kind of a short video, but if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Always helps me out. If you have any comments, if you think I'm completely insane and think I'm out of this world for saying any of this, put it in the comment section below. Tell me why I'm wrong. And as always, guys, remember to subscribe to join the revolution today. This is Slendy Revolution X signing out, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.